This week we're working on upgrading our water system. Our interim water system is prone to freezing because everything's on the surface. We have a direct bury cistern that we're going to be placing at the top of our hill, but before we do that, we want to get the trench ready so that we can bury the water lines to keep them from freezing. The problem is, this trench isn't your average trench. It's not straightforward. If you're like us, you're probably thinking, woohoo, we get to rent an excavator or a ditch witch. Well, unfortunately, those tools really weren't a good fit for this particular job. Let's kind of go through some of the reasons why. The first major problem is that the slope of this hill is about 47 degrees. So it's really not a good thing to be running heavy equipment on this hillside. Add in the fact that there's all these loose rocks and it's like trying to work equipment on the side of a hill on marbles. There's somebody on the face of this earth who could run this piece of equipment, this excavator, on that hillside. I'm not that guy. We don't have his number, and we don't have time to wait to do a talent search. Another reason that equipment wasn't a good fit for this job is the trees on this hillside receive a lot of wind, and they've survived several 100-year windstorms. So we want to keep the root systems intact if at all possible. If we were using an excavator or a ditch witch, it's quite likely we would do substantial damage to these root systems. For the sake of our own safety, because our future home will be nearby, and also preserving our beautiful trees, we thought if we can avoid damaging the root systems, awesome. And finally, rocks. It turns out we have a little bit of soil in all of our rocks. These types of river rocks, the round ones, they really don't do well with a ditch witch. So we thought, why put ourselves through all that extra effort when we could just find a different tool to do the job? In case you're wondering, shoveling these rocks, it's torture. So if you can't dig this trench with an excavator, or a ditch witch, or by hand, what are we gonna do?
Don't look at me, I don't know.
A few years ago, I made a new friend at a home show. He's an arborist by trade, and he was telling me about this exciting new tool that uses air and it blows the dirt up. And I'm like, that's really cool. What would I use that for? So then I'm telling Alyssa about this tool and, wait a second, I know what to do. Tree guy, arborist guy? Interesting dirt blowing up tool guy. Oh, there he is. Oh, hey there! You might remember me from a home show long time ago. You was telling me about that soil blowing up tool you were getting. It was real exciting. Yeah. The pink shirt. Yes, I wore a pink shirt, and yes, in the baby van. Yes. Well, hey, anyway, about that soil blowing up tool, I got me a project I think would be a real good fit. What do you think about me borrowing that tool, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, he said yes.
Yay, I think.
So we dug this entire trench using air. This tool actually uses compressed air to loosen the soil, and then all you need to do is lift out the heavy rocks. It took us a few days to figure out the technique with this tool. The first day, we only went 14 feet. This trench is 3 feet deep, but by the fourth day, we did over 53 feet in one day. The technique went a little something like this. First, you use the air tool to actually excavate, which means to loosen everything, get it all nice and loose. Next, we would blow all the fine soil off the top, and that would leave all the big rocks exposed. Then, we could simply pick the rocks out by hand. See all these rocks here? Every single one of these rocks we had to lift out of this trench. This tool does really well in loose, loamy, and sandy soil. But mud? Let's not talk about mud. Luckily, we didn't run into this mud until the very end, so maybe 15 to 20 feet of this stuff, which really slowed us down. But this stuff, very easy to work through.
So how hard is this tool to run? I had the opportunity to operate it for a little while, and it does get tiring like using any tool, but I do have to say it's a lot easier than trying to dig it by hand.
As for cost, this actually was a lot more affordable than we expected. partly because my friend allowed us to borrow his tool, which we actually had a really hard time finding at any kind of a rental facility. This compressor is the same type of compressor you would use with a jackhammer. We pay about $100 per day to rent this piece of equipment, or by renting it by the week, it's about $400. So our total expense with this particular trench, about $400. To put that in perspective, we did get a quote from one contractor locally, and he wanted to dig an entire road and trench and put in the cistern. And he was asking for about $3,000. If we would have paid hired hands to do this job, we probably would have spent a little over $1,000. So that gives you some idea about the economy of this method. Just one more reason this setup is so good for this type of a job is the compressor. It's sitting down here on the flat spot, super comfortable. But because we have so much hose, we can run all the way up this steep hillside and around all kinds of obstacles. Down here, where the slope is a little less severe and there's no tree roots to interfere, we're actually gonna dig all of this with an excavator. So the good news is we are gonna get some equipment to do some help. But for this portion of the trench, this tool was perfect. If you've never heard of this tool, don't feel bad. Not very many people have even heard of it, but it was perfect for this job. Would we recommend it for most trenching jobs? Not at all. In fact, I wouldn't want to dig this trench twice. If you can, use equipment. It's a lot easier. So that does it for this video. Stick around though. We've got our cistern to install and we've got all the plumbing to connect on this project. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please also follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram. We'll put all the links to that fun stuff below. We'll see you in the next video.